Hello everybody, my name is Zach. Welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech. Today's commander is Neheb the Eternal. Now the goal of this deck is to use his mana generating ability to take multiple combat steps and beat our opponents in one turn, cast multiple damage dealing spells, generating more mana for future combats, or to cast big things like Eldrazi much earlier in the game. Alright, we're going to start by going over some of the key equipments in the deck. The first one up is Conqueror's Flail. Even though this only gives him +1/+1 in the deck, as long as it is equipped to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So it does stop our opponents from being able to Swords to Plowshare, Path to Exile our creature, cast things like Time Stop, Cyclonic Rift. So it allows us to go off, cast our multiple combats, and kill all of our opponents, or drop some Eldrazi, or various things like that. After that, we have Grafted Exoskeleton. This is just so that we can get some quick kills on players. We can either equip it to the Eldrazi, the Dragons, whatever we want to equip it to. As long as you get 10 to a player, they die from the infect damage. It's not the best win con, but it is a nice alternate to have in here. It's pretty easy to get Neheb to 10-10. A little harder to get him to 21-21, so you can make one Grafted Exoskeleton, equip one of the swords that we have in here, and kill people right away. Speaking of swords, we run 3 swords that grant him color protection: Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Feast and Famine, and Sword of War and Peace. Now each of those swords is in here because it does also provide a bonus. One of them untaps all of our lands. Two of them actually deal damage, so they help with his mana generating effect. The sword does also have a combo, which I'll go over later. It has 2 infinite combos in the deck. And finally we have Kusari-Gama. When he deals damage to a creature, it deals damage to all of their creatures. Plus, you can pay 2 to give him +1/+0, so if they don't block him, you can increase how much damage he's doing. Kind of like a mini fire breathing, but you can do it with colorless mana. So they block, well, they still take the Afflict 3, and you can potentially wipe their board, or they don't block, and you get a ton of mana, and you can take additional combats, or cast big creatures, or blow them out with a big burn spell. So it's a lose-lose for your opponent, but it is a win-win for you. Alright, after that we have our various combat spells and combat effects. Most of these are pretty straightforward. Cards like Fury of the Horde, Relentless Assault, Seize the Day, World at War. Now we do have Aggravated Assault and Hellkite Charger in here. Both of them, if Neheb has connected enough times or dealt damage enough times, allow you to make infinite combats simply combined with Neheb. They can also go infinite if you have Sword of Feast and Famine, as you just have to pay mana into them to take extra combats. Aggravated Assault needs 2 connections with Neheb without any equipment, even if they block him. And Hellkite Charger, if they block him, it requires him to attack 3 times, as long as, he's not dead. Of course, we do also have Godo. Now, Godo's in here for 2 reasons. He gives an extra combat, and he also tutors for an equipment. Now, the important thing to note about Godo is he doesn't untap Neheb, which is why we have Batterskull. Batterskull gives him Vigilance, so it will allow the extra combat with Godo. Godo could also, tutor up the Sword of Feast and Famine, and you could just go infinite with that as well if you wanted to. It is worth noting, Godo says the first time you attack this turn, so you do have to play his extra combat step before the other ones if you want it to go off. We have 3 spells in here that are X-cost spells that deal multiple damage, that deal damage to players and can do multiple targets. One of the coolest cards in the deck, in my opinion actually, is Fanning the Flames, because it's an X damage spell with buyback, so you can deal, say, 10 damage to a player with it while buying it back, or even 7 damage, buy it back. Go to combat with Neheb, attack a player, and you get 13 mana, and you could play Fanning the Flames again after that. Or, deal a little less, and then take another combat. It's just a neat card that allows you to keep going, or you can drop an Eldrazi afterward, or various cards like that. We do also have Molten Disaster and Comet Storm. Molten Disaster, if you kick it, it has split second, so you can deal a bunch of damage with Neheb, Molten Disaster, and no one can respond to it. Finally, Comet Storm, you can pay 1 for each target beyond the first, deals X to any number of target creatures or players. So if you need to board wipe, you can board wipe with it, but more importantly, you can kill all of your opponents with it. Just like Molten Disaster, of course. And if you do have enough mana, you can kill everyone with Fanning the Flames. We do run 4 large Eldrazi in the deck in the forms of the second Emrakul, Kozilek, and both Ulamogs. Now these do act as secondary win cons, big things to put your mana into, and they just scale with Neheb. They start connecting, and then Neheb's connecting. Well, you start getting quite a bit of mana. You can get 30, 40 or more mana at that point. I mean, obviously you're killing players at that point, but then you can cast your damage spells and kill off the remaining 2. Finally, we have a few cards in here that just act as some neat tech to have. We have Strionic Resonator. Now, Neheb's ability, because of when it activates and how it activates, it doesn't count as a mana ability, meaning it can be responded to. So your opponent can stifle it, but more importantly, we can use Strionic Resonator to copy it. We also have Ashling in the deck. She functions as a board wipe. If she hits 3 players for 3 damage each, well, that's 9. But you can also just slowly pour mana into her each turn, and she just keeps getting bigger. Use her as a massive blowout to clear the board, deal a lot of damage to your opponents, cast Neheb after, give him haste, swing at someone. She has a lot of utility in the deck, and she gives you a lot of options. You can use her right away, you can use her slowly. We have Knollspine Dragon, who when he comes into play, you draw cards equal to the damage you've dealt this turn. You can use him after you've attacked with Neheb, gain some of your extra combat spells, start playing those down. It can be fairly easy to draw 10 or more cards off of Knollspine Dragon. Finally, we have Fatal Frenzy. It's 2 and a red, gives one of your creatures plus X plus O until end of turn and trample, where X is its power. You do have to destroy it at the end of the turn, but if you're giving Neheb double the power, so he goes from 5 to 10, or better yet, if he's at 10, you can bring him up to 20. Or if you even hit one of your Eldrazi with it, having a 26/26 Emrakul with Trample is pretty hard to block all of that damage. You connect with it, start taking those extra combats, getting a 26 extra mana. At that point, you're probably in a position to end the game. Now, the deck is weak to things like multiple removal of Neheb. At that point, your plan B is just slapping all those equipments on other creatures and just taking your extra combats with those, or slapping them onto Eldrazi and beating people down with the Eldrazi. The deck does have enough mana ramp where you can probably survive Neheb dying 3 times pretty easily without having to worry too much. But he is very strong, he's very fast. If he does start going, it just creates a massive snowball effect, and at that point it's very hard for any of your opponents to be able to stop him at that point. And the turn you do start attacking, he gets you so insanely ahead of everyone else at the table. Alright, well, that's our deck tech of Neheb. I will have a full deck description in the comments below, or a link to Tapped Out, I should say. I don't actually have Microsoft Word on this computer. Thank you everybody for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you think I should do some more of the legends from Hour of Devastation, or if there are other commanders that you want to see me do a deck tech of. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.